Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Cuttlers Bend, guys. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for your suggestions on what we can do with this area here, and it's going to take a couple of videos to complete. Not quite sure what I was doing here, but anyway, not to worry. I think I was looking whether I could scrap things or not, which I can't. So few things that are going on with this Workshop Anywhere mod, and you'll see up in the top right hand corner there is actually a size meter, despite me having a no limit mod on. So that's a bit disappointing, but anyway, I think the allocation that they give you is quite large, so I think we should be able to finish the settlement without too many hassles. And but anyway, it's maybe the next build I do outside the settlements, I will use the Conquest mod instead. See if that gives me a bit more scope for building, and it actually works with the rest of the mods that I have already installed in the game. And if you have any suggestions for kind of future settlements that we can do that are not normally unlocked with the game naturally, let me know. I think with Cuttlers Bend, we've probably got a couple of weeks left on this build, and we're pretty much done. Once we get this area here finished off, it probably is only going to give us a few more things to do and we're done. What I may do in this particular build is I may show you some decoration builds, or at least, you know, there are some little areas that I'm creating that are just kind of, they're less building and more kind of decoration, so I may show you how to do those. You know, I showed you one in a couple of videos ago, which is just the one in the opposite corner to where we are now, with the canvases and whatnot. So I'm just feeling my way in here. Dropped this little carriage here from USO down, and then I'm just going to see where it takes us and work on this hill here. So went through the kind of list of things that we could potentially do here, and one of the things that we haven't put in yet is a local bar, so we'll put something in, or a restaurant, so we'll put that in here as we go. I think we also should use the height here to build at this level above and below, so that will happen. And then let's just see where it takes us. This is really this build today is really just getting the foundation of what we're going to build in, and then the next episode will really ramp it up a little bit more and see what actually happens and where it takes us. So enjoy this. Thank you for the comments on the last video. It seems by those comments that you're enjoying just understanding how this process works, and how I just throw things together and see what happens. So hence why we're doing this particular video as well. What I will do in this part of the settlement is I will put a lot of different layers and levels in, and lots of little areas where people will be utilizing to have some kind of dwelling or some kind of place to get out of the rain, get their head down, you know, add some of their collected loot from the Commonwealth, etc. So it does turn out real well. I'm really happy with what ends up coming out of this. It does give me a whole heap of decoration to do, which is the one that takes the most time in a settlement. The building is the easy part. In actual fact, the decoration is the one that takes so long. So here we go. So we're starting to yeah, kind of sort out things. I can get in under there, so there's potential there, and there's some contrast. Now I'm going to have to put another piece of train carriage on the end there, because there's a bit of a gap that doesn't really resolve itself. So I'll need to fix that at some point. Now, if you haven't seen the video I did a while ago on Unlock Your Creativity and how to build on a hill, and that interests you, I'll leave a link to that video about now, and you can check it out. Otherwise, just keep watching and you'll see how I tackle building on a kind of slope like this. Once you get your head round what's needed, it's not overly complicated actually. There you go, and that just looks, you know, scrappy and cobbled together. Also, fixing up the Commonwealth will probably be back after this build, and we I think for the next one we'll be doing a smaller settlement. I have an idea of what I want to actually do for the next fixing up the Commonwealth settlement, and it lends itself to a smaller, just a much smaller build. Now here's a trick that you can do to get your heights right. So put the wall, always put the wall in first, like that, and then put floors in, and it'll give you an idea whether you can actually get underneath. If you can't if the walls are touching the floor, then you know you're not going to get enough room. Obviously, if you go up the hill there, you're not going to get a heck of a lot of room to go underneath. So you're going to be limited a little bit. But there you go. That's one of the techniques that you can use when you're building on a hill to get dwellings on multiple levels. So we just need to put a few more walls in there, like that. And then you can see that's not usable space in there, so we might as well just put some walls in. This is where these single walls are very useful, just to block up that gap there. They should snap in without sticking up through the floors. There you go, you've already created two dwellings on top of each other. And now if you put a little bit of floor there, it will then start to stack. So we're just look at, so this is build order stuff. See if that fits in there. I think in the end we get it in eventually, but you can see build order is key to getting that to work. And now I can't actually get underneath it, so that's an issue. So it's probably going to be an end cap that we're going to have to put in here. And again, finding the right one that's going to snap, etc. We will get it in eventually, but it does take its time. Sometimes just by having a different angle or whatever, you need to bring that down just a fraction, gets it to snap. There we go. So whenever you're doing this kind of building, you then have to think about, okay, the flow. I'm always a big advocate of the flow of a settlement, and what I mean by that is if you're going to put something on that lower level, how do you get to it? How would the settlers naturally use that area there? How would they get down to it? So you got to be thinking about that constantly, about how it would be used and how it all flows together. And this little area here that we're putting in, that little kind of veranda area, actually flows onto the roof of another building then. Okay, all looking good, all different kind of scrappy walls and all kinds of stuff. This area here is a little bit of a problem, but I end up solving that much later in the build. At this point it's just a case of just trying to chuck things in and see how they all stack up, and then we'll start to figure out how it all works beyond that. See that floor wants to snap in there, get the right angle, wants to sit up for some reason, but I'm not worried about that because it's underneath the the end cap there, so that's alright. It's not gonna. So there you go. Here comes the flow element I was talking about, because now you realise that we have to get down to that dwelling underneath. And so I'm trying to visualise how this is all going to work, and what I'm doing here is making sure that the railings are in the right place and that the ladder's in the right place. All working pretty well. So it was getting a bit dark there. We went and had a sleep. We've come back and we'll continue to just keep adding and adding and adding. So we've put a foundation in there. I decided to take that out and add something else. And just keep pushing these floors off each other. You should snap in like that, and just keep building those multiple layers. And now you can see we have the opportunity to build something here, and we're nearly at that area that we need to be. Now what I decided to do here is I decided to do a kind of restaurant stroke a bar with multiple levels on it, because it just lends itself to that. So need a little bit of a viewing area there, and then I'll put a downstairs. So figuring, it's one of the things that I struggle a little bit, is figuring out stairs for some reason, and it's probably the hardest thing that you're going to have to do in the settlement. So you can see stairs there, and now we can snap a floor off. Again, there's the same technique again for downstairs, and I think I end up moving these stairs because they don't quite work the way I want them to. So that wall works there. It works everywhere except the place I want it to. Go figure. There we go. That's better. That's what we want. And you can see that's sinking a little bit into the ground there. So there's only going to be so much of the space here that we're going to be able to use. So I'm going to snap a floor off. And there you go. We starting to figure out how this is all going to work in the bottom area here. We have an outdoor area there and an indoor area downstairs. So downstairs seating. And that's perfect with the boundary there. And it's just extended it a little bit. It's just extended the settlement just that fraction more. Hop back up here. And I'm kind of looking at this going, yeah, that's not going to work. The stairs are just not going to work for me there, so I'm going to have to move them. And when you ever do that, the challenge is always so there's, even if I snap them there, I don't think there's going to be enough height for me to walk underneath. And you'll see in a second what I'm talking about. So if I snap them there, I actually can't physically get back up under there. So going to be able to figure out how to do that. So I need to push those stairs just one more across, one more floor across like that, and now that all works. So it's going somewhere. It's going somewhere, and here we go. So that all works. I can get underneath. There's a workable area in here, and we can get round onto there. So all looking good, and it's all starting to come together nicely. I'd also like to just take the opportunity to thank every single one of you who are spending the time to watch this build week in, week out. The views for this build are probably the best I've ever had with a settlement build week on week since we done the trailer park build at Starlight Drive-In. So thank you so much for supporting the build. I love reading your comments every week, and you know, obviously there's something about this build that people like, and I'm always looking for your feedback on that to understand why you enjoy it so much, so that I can continue to bring you content that you are going to enjoy number one, but also maybe get some inspiration or learn a few things for your own settlements with. So please leave a comment. First of all, thank you so much for supporting me, and second of all, leave some comments why you're enjoying this, why you keep coming back and watching this settlement every week, and what you'd like to see on the channel going forward, and I'll do my best to put it up on the channel and do builds in the future. And like I said, we can go back and do a few smaller settlements for fixing up the Commonwealth, or we can also maybe start a series where we do these builds that are outside of the normal settlement builds that the game gives us, and continue doing it that way. So just let me know in the comment section. I would really appreciate it, and we'll bring you the content that you're finding helps you in your own settlements to the channel. There we go. So you can see here now we have a bit of an issue here with the height area. Now this area in here we're under here is going to, it's a kind of dead area, but we will make it into a settlers area. So you can see I've got this kind of random area at the front here, and you know, I've got to get the same height walls now. And you can see now, okay, so now we got an issue because those walls are snapping to the floors above, those barn walls that I've put in. This warehouse wall is snapping to the foundation, and they're at different heights. So we're like, okay, so it's going to give me a problem. So if you don't know, the barn walls and the warehouse walls are slightly taller than your standard walls for vanilla pieces and general wood and metal walls. So when you build, hello dog meat, when you're building, sometimes that happens to you, and you just got to figure it out on the fly. And the solution I come up with in the end is probably a good one. So there we go. We'll just put a floor in while we're waiting. There we go. So now it starts to spark some ideas of what we could potentially do out there and underneath. So we're going to block these in. It's going to be a little viewing area. And sometimes, I don't know how you build. I'd be interested to see how you build. You know, sometimes I just keep putting walls in and trying to envisage how things are going to work. And then suddenly it'll spark a direction for things. These are great walls, but they haven't been nav-meshed properly. And sorry, I haven't had enough coffee this morning. So you just have to put them into place. They don't actually snap to anything. So starting to put some walls in and get rid of that. So you can see sometimes the first idea that you have isn't necessarily the one that you run with, because now this has sparked something, and we're like, okay, we could have a little outdoor veranda area. Perfect. I fall off for about the 16th millionth time in my building a career. And you can see I just go back and forward, adding bits to certain parts of the build until everything sort of materializes. It's okay. Run away, have a look, come back, add a few more walls. Now I'm going to have to solve that issue of getting onto that area, as you can see. So I'm going to have to put something in there so I can walk straight onto that. And now what I'm thinking is I need to then put a veranda on the front. So that means changing the floors around a bit to allow the walls to snap onto these bits. And that can cause you some issues when you do that, because sometimes they won't snap because of the stuff you've put in underneath, and you have to pull it all out and redo it and blah blah blah. So okay, so that's what I'm trying to solve here. I'm going, okay, I need something that allows me to walk onto there like that. That is scrappy, so that's all good. Pretty easy fix. So as we go through this particular area and where we end up with in this particular part of the settlement, it will show you how to utilize every kind of inch of space if you're building in your own settlements. So stay tuned in the next couple of videos and you'll see what I mean. We do put a lot into this area, a heck of a lot into this area, on multiple levels, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. What I'm doing here is I can see it snaps in and it just gives it a bit of a smoother transition. So yeah, if you like, if you're looking kind of to do a build in your settlement that's really kind of this, what it ends up, that what I've been trying to do, let me explain myself a little bit clearer. What I've been trying to do for a while is get a settlement build, or part of a settlement build, that looks a little bit like a favela, and I think I'm getting a lot closer in this build than I've ever been before. And you know, the favela tends to be lots of buildings on top of each other, usually on a hill of some kind. So that's where we end up with this kind of section of the settlement, and I do like the look of it. Now this roof is fighting me a little bit. There's lots of sections of roof. Don't need that one. Pick that up and pull it inside. Oh well, could be a roof for the veranda, I guess. Little outside area for the smokers, I guess. There. So yeah, keep watching and you'll see where we end up, because I do utilize pretty much most of this hill during this build to with lots of little dwellings and whatnot. So and it kind of sparks an idea for other builds that I want to do in the future. Now this roof, for some reason, those pieces, I don't know if he picked that up, they snap at different heights for some reason. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird things that they do. So we're getting towards kind of the halfway point and the end of the video for today. Usually what I would do is I'd probably speed a lot of this up for you, but I thought, given that the response to last week's video plus I think it's probably useful for you to see some of the process that's involved. So I have these walls from the Settlements Objects Expansion Pack, which is a Xbox specific mod, which you'll see a lot of these walls down in kind of the main city of Boston a lot, and I haven't used them for quite a while. I used them in fixing up the Commonwealth at Sunshine Tidings when I done the homage to Fallout 3, that house there, and if you haven't seen that, check it out. I'll leave a link. So the next time you come back, we will start to really ramp things up and start to define a whole lot of these areas together and add a heap more buildings to this particular part of the settlement. I'm not going to show you putting the walls in, the kind of defensive walls, but I will next time we come back. I will show you what I've done as such. So you see that window works there, but it's kind of sort of too tall, so I end up pulling that out in the finish. So we're going to finish off this patchwork quilt of the roof, and then we're going to finish up today. Now you would have seen, if you very quickly there, that roof height is just all over the place. I need to fix that. And this is going to be a bar restaurant, like I said, with a couple of levels, so it's all starting to work out pretty well. So thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time on Gaming for XP. See ya.